Hey there everyone, this is Carrie with Any Day Blessings, and on this channel you can find all things homeschool. I do curriculum reviews and flip-throughs and how we use it. I show you day in the life lessons, homeschool organization and planning tips, all things related to our homeschool journey. If that interests you, I would love for you to consider subscribing and sticking around to watch how we homeschool, and hopefully it will be a blessing and a help to you as well. Today's video is going to be a homeschool video. I have kind of a year-end update of sorts to share with you. I like to hear how people's homeschool year goes. Like if I watch their curriculum reviews in the beginning of the year, I like to see how things played out by the end of the year. So that's what this video is going to be. I'm going to do this as kind of a hits and misses review. So that's what I'm going to call this series, just as I march through some of the different topic areas that we covered this year, the subject areas, and talk about the different resources that we use. Was it a hit or was it a miss? And today we're going to talk about our hits and misses in the area of literature, both read aloud literature and the independent reading that my son did. Now, before I start to just rifle through and give it a thumbs up or thumbs down, I want to kind of let you know what led us to do reading in this particular way. We used to do reading through BGU Press, and I love their readers. It's exactly what I would want to be reading, but my son was really taken aback by the size of the book. Inside, it is completely, this is just so appealing, I would think, to a child. You know, they break up the text with lots of pictures, and it's just great. I mean, I don't know why my son, was so averse to this, and I was really puzzled by it, and then it just kind of came out one day. It's the size of the book. He says, it takes me forever to finish a book. And he was used to, in kindergarten with BGU Press, getting books that were like this thin. Now, this is actually an Abeka one, but he was used to these, that he was like reading in one sitting, and he went through tons of books, and he was really encouraged by that. And then by the time he got to second grade, it was these thicker kind of anthology, almost storybooks that he just, only got to get through 2 a year, and he felt like he hadn't really accomplished much. So I took note of that, and I started looking around at the library and on curriculum websites and things like that for ways that I could, introduce thinner books to him, but still have some sense of a reading curriculum where I could develop things like fluency and comprehension and vocabulary and things like that. So this is what I did. If you watched my reading video from the beginning of the year, I picked several different book guides type of things. I used some book links from BGU Press, and I used a book study from Moving Beyond the Page, and I selected several of those. I think I selected 4 or 5 of those, and my plan at the beginning of the year was to do those book studies, which were about 2 to 4 weeks each, and then in between that, allow my son to pick out his own books to read. And that's what we did, and it worked out really well. We got through all but one of the books that I picked to do, and so I'll just roll that over and make it part of 4th grade, or perhaps we'll do it over the summer. But I ended up getting through the majority of what I had planned, and I had like a pre-made list for him of books that he could pick for himself just to kind of get him going. But then about halfway through the year, I ended up just letting him go into the library, and he started picking books off the shelf. So that's what we did. Here's what the hits and misses were. So first of all, I'll just start at the beginning. We did Tornado with the Moving Beyond the Page guide. And this technically was maybe a little bit below his reading level when we started this, but this was the first time I used any kind of guide with my son. So I think I shared this with you in a recent video when I was talking about the Memoria Press guides. When I'm doing something that's a little more formal, I like to bring the reading level down a little bit to kind of get my son used to the process of analyzing literature and all of that kind of thing. So I started off the year with Tornado, and I don't know if it was because it's the beginning of the year or the reading level was a little easier for him or what, but this probably was the smoothest book guide up until we did the fables one at the end of the year, the folk tales. The folk tales unit. That was by far his favorite thing we did in reading, was the folk tales unit. But this was probably the favorite chapter book that he had, because I think we were just fresh. It was the beginning of the year. He really connected with the characters, and so this is definitely a hit. And I would love for Moving Beyond the Page to make more of these. You know, they have 3 per year, and I would just love if there were like 10 per year that you could choose all these different books, because it seems like a lot of the books are more geared toward girls, and my son just has no interest in reading them. So that's that. So that was definitely a hit. And I would say overall this format was a hit with my son. I'm so glad I tried this, because reading, we had no exhaustion with reading this year. We had no, oh man, you know, that kind of thing. He didn't act, you know, just worn out of it and just done with it at any point. So I really like this format that we came up with. The next one was, no, it was this one, sorry. We did this one next, Pulling Together. Now, I don't have the book because I actually got this out of the library. But this was the book we read next. This would be the only miss. And it has nothing to do with the book link or, you know, the reading level or anything of the book. My son told me, I learned this year, he doesn't like historical fiction. He likes historical nonfiction. That's it. If he's going to read about history, he wants to read about facts, things that really happened. So he doesn't like to read about the pioneer stories, you know, made up fictional stories. He only wants to hear about real people and what really happened. So that was kind of interesting, and I can understand why he wouldn't have preferred that book. So it's not a miss from the standpoint of it wasn't a good book to read. It's not like I wouldn't recommend it. It was just a miss for my son, because I learned something new about a style that he likes to read, a genre that he likes to read. So that was the only one he didn't take to, but I loved the activities in it. The book was good. I loved the theme, and I would recommend giving it a try if your child likes that style of writing or that genre of writing. Next up was The Treasure of Pelican Cove. This was probably the next favorite. In fact, well, I think actually my son might have said this after he read this. He liked it better than Tornado, but then he went back and said, no, I like Tornado better. So this was kind of at the tie for my son's favorite pick of the year of books that I chose, So he really liked this one. This is from BJU Press. It does come with a book link, and there is a follow-up book to it that we're going to read over the summer or maybe in 4th grade, because my son loves sequels and series and things like that. This is set more in like today, maybe earlier 20th century, but it's mostly a current day setting, so that's why my son really liked it. He could really relate to the character in that story as well. All right, next up was this book I picked. My son read this one. This was The Sword in the Tree. My son read this one mostly independently. He did not read this one out loud to me as much. We kind of transitioned to that a little bit mid-year this year, because I really want him to start developing his silent reading ability, and to try and test comprehension there. So this was set in the medieval time. Now, he already had told me that he didn't like historical things, but I had already picked this book up, I purchased this book, and so I said, well, I know you don't really prefer this, but this is about knights and castles and things like that. So he was a little more okay with that than pioneers. So he read this one somewhat reluctantly, and he kind of gave it like a thumbs like this. So it wasn't a miss, but it really wasn't a hit. He told me that the thing he didn't like about this book was the heavy theme. So in this book, the uncle tries to take over his family's castle, and it is thought that his uncle murdered his dad, and the whole story is the boy just trying to find out what happened to his dad, and that kind of a heavy theming was a bit much for my son. He just doesn't like reading about that. Like, he doesn't like reading about robberies or violence or anything, and I'm glad. I mean, I don't want him to, like that, but it bothers him to the point where he's physically bothered by a theme like that in a book. So, if you have a kiddo who's kind of sensitive to that, just know that that's the theme through the whole book is this family in danger the whole time. So that was a near miss. He read it and he wasn't really fighting me on it, but he didn't enjoy it like he did The Treasure of Pelican, Cove, and Tornado. All right, now we're going to move into, here's one more that he read. This would be one of the two that he picked that were the favorites that he chose. So he chose the Little series. He has read 2 of these, and he wants to continue reading through all the ones that are at our library, except The Littles Have a Wedding. He told me, Mom, I am not reading about that. I'm not reading about romance. so he let me know that he's not reading that one. But this little series, you can see the book is thin, and there are some pictures. I mean, they're just pencil drawings every so often. They're not a lot, but he really liked this. This is fiction. If you're not familiar with the series, it's about little tiny people that live in the walls of a house and all of their adventures. But he's okay with that. He does prefer nonfiction. He just does. But at least this is somewhat set in a current day, and he can relate to it a little bit more. So he liked that. And then the other one he liked, I don't have it here because we actually checked it out from the library. He liked the Rikki Rico series from, oh goodness, I'm forgetting the author's name now. But he liked that series. It was about a robot that fought. It was kind of comic bookish almost, but it was a chapter book. But it kind of gave you the feeling of like a comic book sort of storyline. And this robot was fighting creatures from other planets to save planet Earth, and Andrew thought that was great. So he read all 10 of those books, and over Christmas break, I think he read 6 of them alone. So he really liked those, and he asked me to find more books like it, which is how we found the Littles, because we were just going by size. Again, with my son, it's kind of a visual hurdle to him. If the book is thick, doesn't matter how good it is. It's just a hurdle to him. But if the book is thin, he'll try it. And he's actually read some books that were above his reading level that just looked approachable because of their size. All right, now to do some misses of books that I read out loud. So our favorite read aloud, I don't have it here because we got it from the library, was the Boxcar Children. We've read 4 of those, I think. Yeah. 4 of the Boxcar Children series books so far. My kids love them. My kids love the Boxcar Children. So we will get those out from time to time and read them because they just love them. I'm really sad about this first miss because I loved this story, but my kids let me get through it, but they were not happy about it at all. My daughter liked it better than my son, but even she said, Mommy, I don't really like this book. Just wait till you see this. Did not like it, you guys. They did not like Charlotte's Web. And then I showed them the movie. In fact, we did not even, I finished it. We finished it. I contemplated not finishing it and just showing them the movie and letting them see what happened at the end, but we did finish it. So, in fact, is this my copy? I think from when I was a kid. I think this might even be my copy from when I was a kid. I don't remember, but I really love this book. I watched the movie all the time. I just loved the story of Charlotte's Web. I couldn't believe my kids didn't like it, but they did not like it. It was a big miss for us. They didn't like the fact that the animals did all the talking, because animals really wouldn't talk. I don't know what it is about my kids with fancifulness and things that couldn't really be happening and be real. I don't know, they don't like it. They're too matter of fact. And my daughter is incredibly imaginative, and she make-believes all the time. But when it comes to stories and stuff, it's just the fact that animals were doing all the talking, it just, I don't know, it messed them. They didn't like it. So, Charlotte's Web was a miss. And then, here's another one I think that will surprise you as a miss for our read aloud section. This one I see all over, but this has been a miss more from Mommy's standpoint. My son is kind of iffy on it. He really doesn't care for them either. My daughter likes it because they're mysteries. like things you have to solve. This is a miss. Encyclopedia Brown. So I know these are like main name things, you guys, but let me tell you why Encyclopedia Brown is a miss. All of the crimes have shooting and robbery in them. And I don't know. Maybe I'm sheltering my kids too much, but I don't want to read about people being shot over lunch when we do our read aloud time. I don't want to read about people being shot. I'm sorry, I don't. So I will not be getting any more Encyclopedia Brown books for a good hot minute because I don't know if that's what they're all like or if it's just this first one, but it was so-and-so was shot. So, I mean, we don't talk about guns and shootings and things. I mean, my kids know what a gun is and they know that people can use them for good and they can use them for bad, but like it's not something I want like at my daily lunch table. So I did not care for this. I won't be reading any more of them. And that's thankfully only those two like real misses for the read alouds. We did a lot of Boxcar Children, and we did we did another one too that they liked, and I'm forgetting. But these are the ones that I gathered that just like stuck out in my head that were hits and misses, and you can take it for what it's worth. If it helps you pick some books out, if it helps you stay away from some things that you think, yeah, we wouldn't enjoy that either, then I'm glad it's a help. All right, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to get some other things that we use this year, and I'll make some other videos based on like subject areas. I kind of want to break them up a little bit so I don't have a big long video, but I will get like math and science up, and I'll get history and language arts up and tell you what the hits and misses were there as well for the year. So let me know below if you have any comments about these and if you have any suggestions. Oh, I love getting book suggestions from you guys because oftentimes they really are good suggestions. So let me know if you have any suggestions of what we should be reading out loud this summer or what my kids should be reading, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care.